because of the connectivity, it is showing like that, sir.
Okay. Okay. So let me proceed with my presentation. If anybody is not going into presentation mode, yeah. Yeah. I think my data has slight problem, so let me slightly tag it in the presentation. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Once again, the urban population has been growing in India phenomenally since independence. Uh, and the current population in the urban areas is expected to be between 35 to 40. This is as per the 2011 census, and it is expected to grow further in the next few decades. Thereafter, it will stabilize. The GDP contribution by urban population is substantially higher. As a result, the urban areas and cities are called engines of growth. But the growing urbanization has its own challenges in terms of civic services. To mention a few, the housing, health and education infrastructure, water supply, sewerage and stormwater networks, energy in terms of electricity and other fuels. But nowadays, even the pipe gas is also a civic supply. Then mobility is the most important aspect in developing and the cities to be remaining as preferred cities for urban population to settle down. So that is the area of our concentration. So apart from this, waste disposal, solid waste disposal side, food products, supply chains and logistics. And then recently, maybe in the last one decade, that has become very, very important is communication and IT networks. And not to forget the leisure and entertainment. So let us go to the problem of classical problem of urban transport. Okay. When we talk of urban transportation, and I hope some of you must be the faculty who have studied or who are working in the transportation. The phenomena of urbanization and the cities start with certain basic industries being located in a particular location of the country. And the basic industry, their employment, their service sector employment, secondary industry. So this is a complete phenomena that happens over decades, and the city really gets established. If you take the case of Mumbai, the port and the its hinterland connectivity to the businesses is one of the major trigger for development of Mumbai in early 1900. Similarly, various cities have various reasons to grow. Some could be growing because of market, some could be growing because of any atomic power plant, or some could be growing because of a steel plant. Uh, so several things like that happen. So basically, you need to divide the population into basic population that is belonging to basic industries and dependent population. Then comes the formal and informal employment that settles around the city, and all these people need to have an excellent transport facility. That is where the travel demand generates, that is basically the connectivity between housing and employment and the services. May it be your daily needs or may it be the need to take the children to school, colleges, entertainment, music, related to any particular event activity which you are doing outside your house is creating a travel demand and therefore a transport. So to address this, what you need is a transport network, yes, mobility, accessibility, and a fleet, whether it is a public transport fleet or private, your own vehicles that are required. So metro networks, the networks can be broadly divided into railway, road network, and recently what have added is the metro and monorail network. And of course, the waterways used to be a dependent mode of transport for a long time in the early 19th century, and slowly they have become unpopular for various reasons. So the important factor that works out is that governs this success of city is also the accessibility, access to public transport system, intermediate public transport, that is autos and taxis, and private transport uh, that is coming through the vehicle ownership. The travel demand is again uh, uh, dependent on route networks, the network capacities. So the typically cities are suffering from peak hour problem because of the time sensitive travel demand. You need to reach at a particular place at a given time, and the time is unchangeable in case of offices, schools, colleges, meetings, or it may be any social function. Only a visit to a relative could be may not be time sensitive, but nowadays it is also time sensitive depending on the place and the reason for which you are traveling. So that is where the peak hour problem is sprouting out, and to address the peak hour problem, that is how the urban transport problem is addressed. Of course, the classical urban transportation problem also includes movement of goods, logistics, and its distribution to various markets and shopping centers. And in all this, the energy cost and out-of-pocket expenses become very important factor. Okay. So the solution to urban transportation and travel demand is developing fixed networks in terms of has been tried. Various solutions have been tried. Various cities. So improving the fixed infrastructure in terms of enhancing the network capacity, and there are limitations to expand the network capacity in terms of adding new roads or maybe widening of the roads. Then there is the demand of public transport. So largely throughout India, except maybe some city of Delhi and maybe some places where the new metro networks have come in, there is network inadequate network capacity and also quality of travel is also very. So as a result of poor public transport system, the private vehicle demand arises largely because of aspiration of the citizens, their affordability and income level, and limitation on expansion of the public transport. And of course, the entire transport expansion has its own limits. The typical solutions that have been tried as is network expansion in terms of widening new bypasses and new ring roads, road congestion, relieving measures like flyovers, elevated roads, multi-layered roads, they are all being tried. Increase supply of bus fleet terms of expansion of public transport expansion. Then the new expansion in the semi-private or semi-public, that is IPT mode, is the new from radio cabs in terms of Ola, Uber, all other forms of radio cabs. This is an increase in supply. Then the public transport expansion programs are undertaken, which go at quite a slow pace, but yes, and the new public transport systems such as metros and monorails are in India. But what is not effectively tried, uh, despite the fact that several researchers and uh, think tanks keep telling are increasing the pedestrianization in city areas, non-motorized transport in terms of going back to cycling, then traffic management. And another important thing that has not yet effectively been tried is pricing of the private vehicle usage, whether it is entry level pricing or area wide pricing. So this explains the complexity of urban transport problem. So I would now jump into the Mumbai scenario because I've been living in Mumbai and working for Mumbai Metropolitan Region for 30 years. That is my Karma Bhumi now. So Greater Mumbai has the metropolitan region has 11 million public transport perform on a daily basis. The combined spread of public transport in terms of suburban railway and bus networks in various towns and bodies is reasonably good. One should not say good or bad. Uh, so for any of the Indian cities, Mumbai has some of the best public transport spread and network. But the alarming situation is coming because of the overcrowding on trains. It's almost three times the crowd that is going on. Then the increasing private vehicle usage, quality of public transport deteriorating day by day, and as a result, there is a spillover onto the private vehicle, and the private vehicle spillover has increased the peak hour congestion, traffic congestion, and peak hour problem, not to 1 or 2 hours in the morning and 1 or 2 hours in the evening. Now it is a peak period problem of 8 to 10 hours in Mumbai. So the morning by 7:30 the peak period starts, continues till about 11:30, 12, and the evening peak period starts by 4 p.m. goes maybe up to 8:39. So this excessive demand for public transport as well as private transport has its own impact on environment. So environmental indicators are deteriorating regularly. So what Mumbai needs is an efficient, economical, and environmentally friendly public transport system. The international standard of public transport is 6 passengers per square meter, whereas Mumbai experiences 8 to 12 passengers per square. What has been tried for over last 2 decades, various solutions have been tried. There are three phases of Mumbai Urban Transport Project. This is a World Bank funded project that has been undertaken, and now Mumbai METP 3 phase 3 is under implementation. There are some delays in terms of network expansion and fleet addition. We have tried lot of road expansion programs. I have mentioned here only a declared road expansion program under MUIP, ANNURF. All these have the road network expansion have given not great results in terms of improving the travel experience or reducing the commute. But the public transport expansion in terms of either MTC public transport expansion or the Metro Line 1 that is first line implementation has given a very pleasant result. There is an increased patronization of public transport to already big number. So that is going to yield long-term sustainability as all cases. So the analysis shows that MDTC and Mumbai Metro Line 1 have benefited more passenger kilometers per year per unity movement. Maybe you can take 100 crores per 100 crores number of passenger kilometers per year. Much higher in terms of public transport rather than private transport. So Mumbai has been asking this question: can Mumbai Suburban Railway doors to close save lives of people and to make the travel more safer? But then what happens to the capacity? What happens to the inside travel conditions? So what you need is air conditioned coaches and automatic closing doors, but the capacity could fall down by near about 25 to 40% once you start. Buses, though in Mumbai metropolitan region, buses have been tried as long route servicing system. They are not able to compete with other suburban railways. But yes, bus plays a very important role of complementing transport. BRTS has been thought of but not really. Pricing of private vehicles to be used to rationalize the road space, including parking, but these are not getting implemented as possible. Good public transport is the only solution for the long-term sustainability of cities. So to address this in 2004, Mumbai Metropolitan Region Development Authority, MMRDA, earlier organization, we have prepared a master plan of 9 uh, lines, which is a combined network of about 100. So the objective is to provide railway transit facilities in areas that are not being catered by suburban railways. And there has to be a public transport station in 1 to 1.5 kilometers throughout the city and ensure proper interchange between various modes of public transport, including creating multimodal transport integration. Of course, this network, the metro master plan has been recently expanded to 150 network plan in that has a number of lines, 9 to 14 lines. I am not going into details of this. So line 3, which I am going to speak, is line Kolaba Bandra red line alignment network. So the red line is line 3. So let me go on to the Metro Line 3 area I intend to speak today, and the challenges that we have faced, how the planning process has gone through. So to understand this network, it is a 33.5 kilometer network with 26 underground and one air-freight station. The project cost is when we have got the government of India, it is 23,130 crores. Near about 57% funding is coming from data. Rest of the funding is coming from state government. And of course, the airport concession is also taking a little burden on that. The project implementation is going originally scheduled to be around December 21, first phase, and June 22, second phase. Of course, the Corona COVID situation may take some few months. If you want to look at the ridership, in 2021, the line is supposed to cater, expected to cater to 4 lakh commuters daily, trips daily, and that is expected to 17 lakh. So accordingly, the fleet that is rolling stock and is continuing to 31 trains. Ultimately, we plan to introduce 55 trains. So what it takes such a mammoth project, mega project in planning and implementation. I'm going to now focus on the challenges that we have encountered and surmounted and started implementing this project. So, in an urban scenario, or for that matter, any even public funded project, the challenges are more or less common. So, to start with project feasibility and funding, followed by implementation and an organization to implement, and procurement process and having good contractors on board, then implementation monitoring and project delivery schedule. Then, since it is a spine like public transport system, the supporting network, multimodal integration, last mile connectivity, and of course the soft things like fare, non-fare revenue, and ensuring the sustainability of such a airport. In project feasibility and environment finalization, as I have already mentioned, we have created a master plan in 2004. But by 2011, 10-11, when we really started working on this project, on this line, there are several things that have changed and several aspirations have changed. So the line was originally considered to be a very small section of underground, but remaining to be elevated. So the first challenge that we faced is that it has to be released or it has to be an underground line. Then alignment fixation and station location fixation in terms of connecting the business centers and employment centers, then various public transport networks. We have used the computer-based models to estimate the ridership. And to meet the estimated ridership, then we need to plan the capacity of the line in terms of headway possibility and number of coaches. Uh, so while we have decided it to be an underground, the underground line, then the constructability becomes the biggest challenge. That is what technology and how much you would say time you would take to complete this project. In terms of heritage, because a large part of South Mumbai is not old and heritage buildings, the conditions may not be sustainable to do an underground line. Then Mumbai has near about 30 to 25 to 30 utilities, underground utilities. For your information, Mumbai has power supply underground for several decades. That is one of the major utility diversion. Of course, stormwater drain, sewage system, and various others. There are large number of IT and communication networks underground. All those things are to be addressed. Then in a city like Mumbai, you need to address the land acquisition. Unfortunately or fortunately, once the project is sanctioned, we confronted with the new Land Acquisition Act in 2013. So we had to deal with that. Then land, what for it is required in once it is an underground land, why do you require so much of land? That's what it is. For the purpose of such a huge investment, the land requirement smaller. However, this being a very highly mechanized construction method, so you need huge construction yards, TBM launch and retrieval areas, then land required for some station facilities. These are the things. So I will come into the details of land that is required. Then city of Mumbai has full of slums and another infrastructure. So rehabilitation and resettlement is an important factor here. Environmental aspects is a coastal city, here the requirements, tree issues and other environmental issues. And the implementation of the project has challenge of traffic diversion during that. So the alignment has been finalized by while finalizing we took care of all these aspects and an alignment has been finalized. So we went to the rather next steps of the project. The issues are environmental and neighborhood issues. One may think that the city would wholeheartedly support a public transport project like underground metro system, but I should say yes and no both because there is very aggravated because their daily activities are compromised, their emergency services are compromised, and they had to confront with the movement of construction trucks and workers and several things. So, under environmental aspects, we had to go through the gathered clearances, environment forest clearances, because some of the mangrove forests are to be cleared, then tree cutting permissions, transplantation permissions, noise and dust and air quality monitoring system, then air vibration studies have been done, and the construction methodology has been decided, limiting the vibration level. And neighborhood issues, which largely confronted after the start of the project, are we have taken over a lot of public spaces and open spaces, and lot of religious uh, structures have been affected. So the neighborhood is not happy for that. Then there are a lot of sensitive structures in terms of heritage, nighttime working, local traffic circulation and parking has been hampered. The utility diversion has undertaken underground construction. Maybe somebody's water supply is disrupted. Maybe river network is not, or a communication line or a power line. So to address all these issues, we have undertaken consultative process right from Follow onwards, and it is still continuing. Stakeholder management is an important part of our regular project implementation. The legal framework and policies are also important. So this being Metro Railway, so it's the central legislation, Metro Railway Act needs to be applied. Then the Land Acquisition Act changed in 2013. So we have to apply that. Then there has to be a rehabilitation policy in place. We have to apply the World Bank rehabilitation policy. Then government decided to implement this project under a SPV model, MMRCL, to be set up as a government of India and government of Maharashtra. So, so therefore, it is very Companies Act and the requirements of Companies Act functioning and all those things are coming into play. Then various other legal compliances in terms of labor laws and other things. Then declare to negotiate a lot of public issues. We had to also use some provisions in government of Maharashtra that generally use, that is vital public infrastructure, declaring it prioritized vital public. So which has helped us in getting lot of clearances and approvals on track. Funding, I will briefly touch up this. However, every project may have its own funding challenges and funding methods. Though it is a typically a fully funded government project, the government of India and government of Maharashtra equities are equal in at 10%, and both of them are giving subdebt in the form of providing the taxes that are collected are reimbursed in the form of subdebt. Together it is about 12%. Then government insisted that we should raise some funding from real estate and property development. So 1,000 crores is getting raised from there. Then stakeholders, the Airport Authority of India and Mumbai International Airport Limited, concessionaire, they are jointly contributing 777 crores for three station construction. MMRDA is funding us 679 crores. So the lastly, the JICA funding, which is 57.2%, which is 13,235 crores. Soft loan that is funded by JICA at the rate of 1.4 to 1.6%, to be paid back in yen for a period of 30 years. I am not going into the JICA loan details. So coming to the next challenge, that is procurement and having the right kind of contract. When such a mega project implementation is taken up to be implemented under uh, method, so the bid document becomes very important. So JICA, who is the funding agency, insisted that we use bidding documents and a combination of JICA standard bidding documents. So we use bidding yellow book as a base document, and then made some certain amendments to come up with this bid document. So you all, most of you being civil engineering faculty are maybe knowing about this. It produces a lot of standard bidding documents, contract documents, all those that as we accepted that. So we have adopted a two-stage bid process. Initially, because these are very large contracts, when you do open competitive bidding, you may end up with a uh, you may end up with a just a minute. What is this annotation request, Mr. Prasad?
Sir, continue, sir.
Continue. Okay.
Continue.
Okay. So we have adopted a two-stage bid process: pre-qualification followed by detailed bid. So as I was telling that it will be an open competition for a such highly technologically difficult and very high value project, you end up having some strange contractors. So to limit this bidding between well qualified, well resourced contractors, so the pre-qualification process is adopted and the final bids are invited among these pre-qualified bidders. Then you need to benchmark your work, what level of efficiency, what level of output you need to uh, achieve in this project. So that benchmarking has been done in terms of rehabilitation and land acquisition. We try to follow the benchmark of METP and MEIT. The work progress and monitoring systems we have used, looked at Delhi Mumbai Industrial Corridor and FCC corridor provisions. Some of them have been looked at. Okay, so these documents are being, bid process has been defined. Then how to get the right size of contract. Okay. So there are various ways that people who suggest you size uh, vertically, horizontally. So to say, to understand this slicing and packaging method, So like there are options in front of us, like you do the entire tunneling to one or two contractors and station construction to one or two contractors, and then like that type of work wise you do it. Or you can do a straight jacketed kind of a geographical limitation based site. So we adopted the second. So point A to point B, everything is the responsibility of one company. The similar thing is also used for the other systems also. Okay? So metro involves civil works in terms of financial tracks, and apart from that, there are a lot of electrical and electronic systems that come into play. I'm going to give you the list of the packages in the coming slide. So we decided to slice the entire project into 7 packages. So these packages have to be independent contracts where they are standardized uh, reasonably, the content of the work, value of the work, and the effort that is required, minimum variation between each of the packages. Then each package has to be self-sufficient. If the neighboring contractor fails, then this contractor, package 2 contractor, is doing well, but the package 3 and package 1 contractors don't do well. So the interface points have to be minimum. So that is one aspect that we have taken into consideration. So that explains that it is going to be another uh, session of explanation. Then, so within the package, we also need to ensure CBM launching and retrieval sites. Then each package needs to have a construction depot. Each package needs to have a bug disposal site. So this kind of packaging has been done for each of the 7 packages. Then availability of competent contractors. While deciding this packaging, you also need to know whether the contractors have adequate capacity in terms of turnover, manpower, or in terms of equipment. So the qualifying criteria are set like that. If you would appreciate in 2013 when we first floated this line for pre-qualification, we didn't have contractors who could uh, singularly who could bid for a 2000 crore value contract. And all of our 7 packages were minimum around 2000 crore value. So that is where we had to allow joint ventures in terms of enhancing the financial capability, in terms of create resources, uh, maybe tunnel boring machines. So once we have decided all this packaging, then we have to fix the key dates. If the neighboring contractor has to facilitate a retrieval shop, then the retrieval shop need to be ready by the time the period reaches. So this kind of key dates have been fixed. So there are civil and system packages are there. Let me, so these are civil packages, as I told, the 7 contracts which have uh, average about 4 to 6 kilometers of tunnel work every package has, and every package have minimum 3 stations up to 5 stations. So, for example, package 3 has 5 kilometers of tunnel and 5 underground stations, which are cut and cover method. And package 4 has 6.8 kilometer longer tunnel, but only 3 stations. So, like that, all the 7 packages have been finalized. We have got a reasonably good contractor through a joint venture with an international contractor, and we also have a civil depot contractor. Systems we have, there are various systems that go into a metro project. Track work, ballastless track for the entire tunnel section as well as the depot area. Then overhead contact power supply traction system. It's an electrically tractioned metro track. Then power supply, arranging the power supply from nearby substations or building substations. So the power supply contract including switching systems, auxiliary and main substations, SCADA, etc. is part of the package level B. Then signaling, train control, platform screen doors, public address system, and communication is one package. Then station security system, because nowadays metros are considered as a very high security heritage zone, so we need to have automatic pay connection system, going to the ticket vending system as well as collection and validation. And tunnel ventilation and air conditioning system, which is called environmental control. Then lifts and escalators at all stations. Then finally the trains, which is called railway. So in these system package, while in civil we adopted the geographical limitation of the land, in system package we use the type of the equipment and supply and work, and also the geographical limitation. For example, the tunnel ventilation system is divided into three packages which are spread over point A to point B like condition. But the tunnel ventilation and air conditioning are together. They don't do any other work but and the civil contractors are supposed to facilitate all these contractors in terms of working arrangements and key rate services. So that is what is intertwining of these packages. Okay, as far as implementation monitoring system, so we are completed this part also. So we had to fix the delivery schedule, and each contractor will give the base work program and bid schedule at the time of bidding. Then it is modified depending on land availability, site access, and working permissions that are available. Then these are combined with our key dates to ensure the delivery date. Then project monitoring, we have general consultants in place along with the employer, that is then contractor has his own team, project team who monitor the project. Project monitoring tools are in place. So we are using Primavera and project-wise computer to monitor the resource mobilization, work progress, and billing and scheduling. Then ERP is also being used for payment of contract. So contract administration and approval process within the project team, who shall look after the administration of the contract, approving the variations, escalation. Then other technical approvals like site clearances or maybe design clearances. Then there is a detailed process of vendor approval, because this kind of work requires a lot of materials and equipment suppliers. So these vendors need to have certain qualifications, certain experience. They need to meet the standards, international standards and Bureau of Indian Standards requirements supplies. So there is a complete vendor approval management program. Then contractor payment, there are certain stipulations given in the tender document that within 50 days of bill submission, we will make the payment. However, to ensure that payment finally reaches in that 20 days is also a system that has to be in place, where the checking and reviewing process happens, contractual payments are made. Then dispute mitigation and redressal system, we have set up this is called dispute resolution board, as one adjudicator is appointed during the process of the contractor. Any dispute that is raised, the contractor will go to the adjudicator and the adjudicator here and try to mitigate the event during the contract period only, not letting it go into the arbitration. So this is the dispute mitigation within the contract project period. Then project completion, testing and commissioning, these are the part of the project delivery. As I told that this is the public transport final network that is being built. So to cater to the larger geography of the Mumbai, we need to plan and implement multimodal integration and last mile connectivity. This particular aspect is under now planning uh, as we approach the completion date of the main project. So this integration includes physical integration between public transport and the feeder network or public mobile and other. Then fare policies try and bring uniformity among the fares of all public transport. Then access and dispersal modes, as I said, that a feeder system is going to come, need to have land availability, and if there are first public systems, their schedules have to match with the metro schedule. Then auto and taxi stand, and non-motorized modes, the cycle stands or any other modes, then walkability to the station. These are being addressed. So parking in and around metro station area, short and long-term parking, and its pricing and management. Then organizational integration is also required because the buses are operated by different entities. The private fleet or maybe IPT like Ola Uber has a different mode of operation. So between the organizations and there are regulations, and if there are any issues between the two different modes which are functioning as together, so there has to be some disputes to be resolved. Then public relations plays a very important role in making this project successfully accepted by people. So that is going to be an important aspect, as well as maybe ultimately we need to have some apps that would help people to reach the public transport system or the feeder system, as the case may be. So it is already in place cities like Delhi and Bangalore. So the other soft system is fair and non-fair. I think it is not really the major part of the infrastructure work, but we need to have a more resilient state structure. Uh, it has to address whether we are looking at a fare maximization philosophy or a passenger maximization philosophy. Then time to time fare revision, the mechanism has to be so that the fuel and oil costs are neutralized automatically, not being affected by any political administration. Then there are demands like certain discounts to be given to differently challenged or students or senior citizens, then monthly passes. So in India, largely these passes and discounts are not being adopted in metro sector, but whereas these are existing in suburban railways and buses. So this is another area that needs to be addressed. Then we also need to look at the non-fare revenue because to keep the fare at lower rate, there has to be a definite and significant amount of non-fare revenue in terms. That is in terms of land and property development in and around the station. Then in-station retail systems, then advertising rights, or maybe several others. So while doing that, we also need to stay at low. The taxation policy, we need to talk to the tax authorities, the government, to see the public transport taxation, or maybe the management contract taxation to be at low. So, for example, the GST, which is at 18% plus on any contract, if we give a O&M contract to a contractor, so that much tax is to be paid. So that is a big drainer on a public transport operation. So these are the things that we do. Then funding for long-term uh, and medium-term maintenance, periodic maintenance and long-term maintenance. You need to have funds. If you need to add more trains, you need to replace the track system, or if you need to do some major repairs or maybe after 5 years down the line, and maybe an upgradation of signaling system is required. So their funding needs to be uh, ascertained. So for that, the kind of reserve funds needs to be clear. Then capacity augmentation, renewal of assets, these policies are in place. So, therefore, to address all these things, we need alternate funding and financing mechanisms. So, multiple stakeholders are involved. You can see here a huge uh, number of stakeholders that are involved in this project implementation. So, I would only read the head. So, government controls and sanctions, we have made about 15-20. Then on-field public organizations, which we have to integrate, manage and on day-to-day basis manage. I think there are about 10, 12. Then citizen and non-government entities. These could be public-private owners, tenants, and towns and all these things. Courts, litigation, salutes, near about 10. Then we have contractors within us. We have near about 25 contractors, and the contractors have consultant, design consultant, quality control team. Then there is going to be O&M contractor that's going to come on board. So there are a lot of things. Then workforce management, then financiers, bankers, then debtors, then arbitrators, the independent adjudicators. So these are very near about somewhere near to 60 cities or individuals become important on a day-to-day basis project. So the project management involves so many things, handling so many organizations. As I said, how much land acquisition we have done for this size of project, the private land acquisition is minimum 2.5 and public government land is 73.14 hectares. So you need to process even for government land also the due process of various organizations. And in case of private land, this 2.5 hectares of land is divided into 70 odd land acquisition proposals. So all of them we have to apply, do the land acquisition process, take out them. Apart from that, there are about 2,800 public, project affected families. They are to be rehabilitated. We are encountering a very congested uh, area in two places, that is Kalbadevi and Girgaon, which are at the southern end of the alignment. So these two stations we had to acquire near about 20 odd properties, near about 30 buildings and 800 80 families and commercial structures. For them, we are building an institute rehabilitation under redevelopment PMC, where we are going to permanently rehabilitate. That's another major project. Okay, so pre-engineering activities before project. So we had to finalize engineering design for then undertake near about 400 material testing and traffic service and building conditions. I'll quickly go through these things because I think we are running out of time. I don't know how much more time we have. So this is typically the tunnel design. The bottom one is the completed tunnel with features going to get installed. And in the top right image, you can see the tunnel with the lining. And this is a section at a super elevation point how the track will be located and alignment and the forehead catenary. So typically the station, underground stations have two levels, concourse level and the platform level. We have adopted different types of uh, station design. So 8 stations are cut and cover stations. Uh, which are in largely in open areas. Then we have about 11 stations which are on existing roads, again cut and cover stations, where you can see brown boxes. You see these are open land and the tunnel is going through the station. Concourse and the platform level is indicated. Then you have the cut and cover type 2, where the station is located within the roadway and the brown boxes on either side, brown or orange boxes, are the existing. So these are also cut and cover. So together there are about 19 cut and cover stations. Then there are the difficulty level increases with other stations not having any station. So for example, Girgaon is an atom and cut and cover with very huge amount of atom work is involved. You can see the narrow box in this tunnel provided. Then we have four stations where one tunnel is outside, another tunnel is inside the box, and the cut and cover is done. Then the connectivity between the tunnel, outside tunnel, and the box is done through atom. Atom becomes important here. Then there is one station where we are crossing metro line one, which is limited. So we can't have a continuous box, so we are doing two different boxes, and the tunnel is outside the box. Then we have very complex station is at Kalbadevi. So two small boxes connected by an atom tunnel and the metro alignment tunnels are outside the boxes. There are a large amount of atoms. So this is the area where I said we are acquiring the lands and doing the initiative. So this is one of the most complex stations we are implementing. Geology, Mumbai is a coastal city, has a different graded underground complex geological systems with heterogeneity varying at various locations. Largely, it is considered basalt, but yes, but there is varying things that are there. There are two uh, agglomerates and volcanic breccia and laterite. There is a lot of, so as I told, near about 400 boreholes and excavation pits we have done. The samples have been tested much before the bid process is done. And we also run into few coastal faults or deteriorated fault lines are there, which are going through our stations also, some of them. So the necessary treatments are to be included in the station design or tunnel design. And typically, near about, I think, 12 stations, the groundwater level is at 1 to 3 meters below ground only. So that means we have very high water table close to the construction zone. These are the geological requirements that we have addressed. Then, as I said, that there are a huge number of utilities, 28 different. All utilities have been mapped before bid process has started. So these utility maps are given to contractors. Suitable provisions are made that contractors should address all the utilities uh, in the bid construction contract only. Any new utilities are encountered, they only will be paid as an additional. So typically the utilities, you can see the number of utilities, you can see the things next year. So there are so many utilities. There is the power cable of BSC, power cables of Tata, then Vodafone, Airtel, MTNL, then other OFC cables. So there are different things. These are only cables. Then there are underground water pipe, water lines, stormwater drains. You can see here. Another example of how utilities are being handled. So existing utilities certainly a major challenge. So after construction, we also need to create an as-built drawing of all utilities the metro, which represents the metro, so that tomorrow if the utility need to be uh, refurbished or repaired, the metro system should not get affected. Building conditions survey. So as I told that we have near about 500 plus uh, old and heritage buildings next to the alignment. So we have done a building condition survey and various categories, uh, five categories, which are five category five is the severe category where maybe building has to be evacuated during the construction process. But all the buildings will be fitted with the monitoring systems. It may be a vibration monitor, it may be a crack monitor, then tilt monitoring, and piezometers are installed to check the water levels, if there are open wells or bore wells or anything like that. So all those things are in place, and this becomes the contractor's responsibility to ensure the building and minimize the damage to building. So the existing buildings, the another important thing is it is very extremely difficult or rather I should say impossible to ensure that the entire alignment outside any building are not affecting any building. So at places we are going very close to buildings, or at places maybe we are passing some of the buildings, but we have ensured that we are much below the foundation level of the existing buildings or maybe future buildings. So we are crossing flyover, we are crossing railway lines, we are going below heritage buildings, we are going below proposed development. So various things are there. So simultaneously, we also are required to do the special construction mostly where we are excavating 20-meter deep excavation next to the building. And there is traffic diversion, if diversion to happen. Uh, just to explain those who understand the traffic numbers, you can see the traffic numbers are there in the last column, the number of available lanes are there. So within that also, more than 50% or sometimes 100% of that would be by the construction team, and this traffic needs to be diverted. This is the peak hour traffic. So you can understand how much traffic diversion activity we have to undertake. We have to deploy the traffic marshal. So we are deploying near about near about 1,500 traffic marshals to manage the traffic. These are deployed by the contract. Okay, limited workspace in the city, so we need to do barricading and protecting. You can see we are doing something below the flyover. Then the proper barricading needs to be done, and then to safeguard the workers and the city traffic from the construction activity. Uh, so traffic management, diversion plans are prepared much before then how the traffic loads will change. The studies have been done by all the contractors. Muck disposal is another important feature. So we are generating near about 11 million cubic meter of tunnel and station muck during construction activities. So this muck is to be disposed to different locations. So we had identified 5 different sites outside Mumbai. You can see the red spots on the metropolitan region map. So the muck trucks have to carry the muck to each places by road. You can see the traffic, the kind of traffic that is there. So the truck movement is allowed only between 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. So this is another big challenge through which the tunneling has to be done. So in the construction zone, construction safety is another important factor. So we have given very high trust in the contract document as well as contractor orientation program also. So safety orientation, training and skilled training of skilled and unskilled workers is an important thing. So without imparting necessary training for a stipulated period, no worker will enter into the site or engineer will enter into the site. This is a mandatory thing that has been kept in the contract document. The contractors are scrupulously followed. So apart from that, good safety practices include the inspect work area daily, then housekeeping activities. A lot of things are there. The people are motivated through daily lectures, toolbox talks, and other things. So we can proudly say that we had uh, just one accident that has involved a major engineering casualty. Otherwise, the entire project is safely conducted now. So, as I said that earlier, the building condition and building uh, safety monitoring is also a separate feature under the contract. So, when stations and tunnels are being constructed close to buildings, in the entire period of construction, 3 months before, 3 months after, monitoring happens. So they ensure that the buildings are safe and if there is any feature that comes, we evacuate the building. So like that, we have evacuated two buildings before any casualty or any collateral damage happens. And they are being kept at private places. Buildings are being very not serious. Environmental measures. So work to be carried out within the barricade is one of the important things. Uh, there has to be dust control measures. We have done prior to construction studies, so they have to achieve that level. Then vehicles, their tires are to be washed whenever the construction truck leaves the construction site. Muck disposal is to be done in closed trucks. Then roads around the construction site to be cleaned regularly for every thing. Then groundwater recharge is done because we do the excavation and tunneling. And to have a better noise level, they have stipulated age of the construction. So that is how we can actually reduce the age and noise pollution. So just for example, we are watching each and every truck that needs the construction zone, and ambient air quality is monitored on a regular basis. Reporting system is there. Wherever quality goes down, construction is. So just to show you some ongoing work, we have actually started construction activities 2016 September onwards when the contractors have come on board and sites are handed over. The level of construction, so substantial, I think two stations have reached the top level, net level, that the station work, which is the atom construction uh, methodology that is happening. You can see manual excavation that is happening. One station very close to very old and sensitive building. This is close to our Vidhan Bhavan. You can see a deck, road deck is created over the station box to ensure the smooth flow of traffic. You can see high-rise buildings nearby vicinity. And this is another construction activity where the road is created by decking over the station and the construction activities happening. This is another site. The ground was that of the station. This is the station work near the airport. The atom tunnel finishing work. You can see here the tunnel already completed, bottom left hand side, almost finishing level that has atom work. I am trying to link some of these videos. I will upload. Uh, I will show you after during the discussion and just check the availability of these. This I end my. This is the model of the train that we have finalized. This is how the Metro Line 3 train will look like, which is in manufacturing at Three City, Andhra Pradesh. Alstom is the contractor. So the train is under manufacturing. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.
Sir, few questions are there, sir.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
In
First
the
one is
meantime,
what is the latest technology that you are using in construction of metro?
what one I'll call it is. Uh, the EBM is the latest construction technology that is tunnel construction. The EBM does the mechanical tunneling and simultaneously it does uh, the concrete rings behind the excavator tunnel. So EBM is the latest construction technology that we are using. And wherever there are any issues, we are using grouting techniques at the tail end or maybe those any voids that are remaining in the tunnel. So that is method that method that
Okay, sir. Then I am giving mic to Murthy sir for vote of thanks. Murthy sir. Hello, Murthy sir. Murthy sir.
Okay.
Vote of thanks.
Sir, thank you, Ramana sir, for your valuable lecture, because this type of presentation in civil engineering is ever seen, because it is
while we discuss, you can see the launching of EVM. Can you see this video that is coming on screen?
Now screen is now blank, sir. You want to show something, sir?
I want to show some videos
Yeah. You
before we,
play, sir.
yeah. How do I?
Just the same thing, sir. Sharing the video.
It's already in the sharing mode.
You have to double click the video, sir. Now it is showing, sir. It is moving. Just
Okay, this is launching of TBM at one of the sites. This is the cutter head getting launched into the TBM launching area. Okay. I'm using some online video. That's why I lag in the uploading. EVM launching site is prepared. The part of the station box itself is the launching site. So into which the EVM parts of EVM are being lowered. Once they are lowered, they will be assembled and the actual turning starts. You can see how congested is the location. Already one part has been lowered. This is another part that is getting lowered. The method used is not actually the easy. I think it is fine that so this tunnel boring machine is generally of 6.5-meter outer diameter. The cutter head cuts the forward direction. On the tail end, the ring erection system will be kept. So concrete rings in the form of 6 segments are prepared before and they are launched from the tail end of the tunneling ring. So there are videos available online. So that's why I did not put that actual CGM working in the you all can see that going on to net. In fact, one can visit our website also and see lot of project progress related photos which we regularly upload on that. We also have a Twitter handle on which we upload the project progress. We also regularly update on our YouTube channel and our website also lot of uh, progress project updates. Uh, Interestingly, we were also offering some training programs for various engineering students in the final year in the form of internship, summer internship, and winter. If anybody is interested to send their students, they can contact. We publish the notification. Of course, this year because of Corona, December we will publish, but last December also we have. We may continue this internship program for another 2 more years. I will go to other. Can you see this video?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is coming, sir.
This is near the Sena Bhavan in the middle Dadar. We have done 2 tunnel boring machines. We have done the breakthrough simultaneous, one after the other. You can see the 2 rings next to each other working. So these it's a very congested area in front of Sena office. So the tunnel bore machine breaks through and then you can see the TTM after. So inside the tunnel boring machine is doing its last round of rotation, the cutter head, uh, and then it breaks out the tunnel. And this is happening 20 meters below, so you can see. So that is the cutter head that is moving at the bottom of the. The water jet is there inside in order to act as coolant when the cutting takes place. The lot of heat gets generated. To keep the equipment at the desired temperature, the water is continuously poured when the TBM is in operation. That is the water jet. So that water jet, there are generally 3 to 4 water jets inside the tunnel cutter head. So that water is continuously flowing. So the TBM is generally about 100-110 meter long machine built in parts. So once the construction tunnel breakthrough happens, the TBM needs to be removed from the front end. It cannot go back because behind tunnel rings are being erected. So it can't go back. Need to the entire 100-meter tunnel will be TBM will be removed from the front end. This is one TBM breakthrough that has happened. So within 10 minutes, we need another breakthrough next to that. So that also is I have another, yeah, this is the finished tunnel I'm going to show. We can take questions as we see this. So this is the finished tunnel. You can see
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are
these
seeing.
are the tunnel rings that are there. So these are the workforce. You can see the rings that are there. It is 1.2 meter wide. It has 6 these are the tunnel segments are there. 6 segments are put together and the circular ring form. Their alignment is such a way that when there is a curve also that can be managed. The yellow portion on top is the tunnel ventilation that is there. Okay. This is the walkway for the workers because in the middle the muck carrying train moves and then people are supposed to walk at the entire TBM, as I told that 110 meters long TBM machine inside the tunnel. So this is the computer visual of the TBM monitoring system inside the TBM only. This is inside the tunnel. This is the operator. Okay, I'm finished. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Okay. Now, Murthy, sir,
Okay.
vote of thanks.
Sir, thank you, Ramana sir, for your excellent and valuable presentation. You are enlightened all our participants regarding the case studies of civil engineering, which presentation which we are ever seen. And on behalf of our Swarnandra College of Engineering and Technology and our civil department, and on behalf of all the participants, I was again and again appreciate you and thankful to you, sir. And I am thankful to our secretary and correspondent, Dr. S. Ramesh Babu Garu, Principal Dr. S. Suresh Kumar Garu, and Vice President Kirti Kumar sir for encouraging us to conduct this program. And I was thankful to my colleagues, Dr. Prasad sir, for excellent hosting of the webinars, and my colleagues, Mr. Venkatakrishna, Satish, and Rajiv, for their immense support in the design of the program schedules. And again and again, I am very thankful, sir. And all the participants are very thankful for attending this program and make it successful. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
A small announcement to the all participants. The feedback link will be sent to your respective emails within an half an hour, along with YouTube recording link. Thank you very much for all participants and also resource person Ramana sir for giving excellent presentation. So
Thank you, Dr. Prasad.
thank you, sir.
All can visit our website and check.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. We shall
Thank you.
visit our website and we shall follow important events, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. Please close, sir.
Okay.
I'm closing, sir. I'm closing, sir.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
close.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Closing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for all.
Thank you, sir.